They have to win, the easy games. If they don't even do that, lights out.
So it's a total circus.
It's a total circus, and I get it's negotiations.
If they want to make a playoff run, they need him on board, and they need him on board now.
I expect Dak, to be, 100%, and I expect a comeback player of the year award out of him.
Hello and welcome to Ain't That Our Ball, a brand new weekly show giving you the inside info from across the NFL. I'm Spencer Clinton and I'm joined by our American football expert, Ryan Sanudo. Ryan, how's it going?
Very good. Glad to be here. NFL season is finally upon us after all these months of just waiting. Glad to be here.
We'll be with you every Thursday as the season goes on, looking ahead to every big weekend of action before bringing you our football X's and O's tactical review show every Monday night.
And today we've got a special Dallas Cowboys edition ahead of the 2025 campaign. Jerry Jones' squad had another disastrous season last year, failing to make the playoffs and headed into the offseason with more questions than answers.
In this video, we're going to be talking about Dak Prescott. Can he come back from injury after suffering a hamstring tear last November? We'll also look at the Cowboys' playoff chances and what is going on with Jerry Jones. Will Dak Prescott return to form after last year's injury? He suffered a torn hamstring in November 2024. Ryan, what do you think?
So last year, even before the injury, 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, just wasn't the Dak that we expected, in previous years. Now they have, George Pickens coming from that trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the offseason. That's really going to help, Dak. They just never can find that running back, so expect a lot of passes, coming out of Dak. And you know what? I think he's going to get a lot better. I think the intermediate passing game was a bit of a problem last year. I think this year you're going to be seeing some slants with George Pickens. And you know what? With Lamb on the other side, that's going to create a lot of focus on him so Pickens can get his at the same time. And you can't also forget Jake Ferguson. You can't forget about, Schoonmaker, tight end, even Turpin. Turpin could be that wide receiver 3. So there's definitely guys for Dak.
He's got a lot of downfield threats in Pickens and Lamb, even Ferguson. Run game might be a little shaky, but we'll see what he can do with it. I mean, they start the season off on such a tough game against the Eagles in Philadelphia. Cooper DeJean, one of the best defenses in the league. How do you think that goes?
Not going to be great. Not going to be great. I mean, first of all, the Eagles coming off the Super Bowl, they lost some guys on defense, but it's just a tough task, They do have a new defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus. He loves the pass rush. And the Cowboys are that's their identity on defense. They have tons of pass rushers, but hey, Micah Parsons has to be there. If he's not there, I'm going to expect another disappointing season out of them.
With Dak coming off his injury, what are you seeing from him out of camp? How's he looking so far this season?
I've been hearing, from, Cowboys training camp, he's looking good. He's even said that, it's all behind him. It took a little bit in terms of the recovery. I mean, last season was first of all, he got hurt in October. If it was like December or January, it would take longer to recover from that, but it happened in October. So all systems are go. You're not going to be seeing Dak in the preseason, but in training camp, he's looked stellar. With George Pickens, obviously CeeDee Lamb, he's going to have that connection. He's been with them for a while now, and his tight end group too. So I expect Dak, to be, 100% in terms of that department. He's not the type. He's not going to run. They're going to try to maintain, Dak, get him in the pocket, keep him in the pocket. You're not going to expect any movement out of him because he's a stationary type quarterback. So he's looking good in training camp, and I expect, a stellar season, and I expect a comeback player of the year award out of him.
And he's demonstrated that he can come back from injury pretty dominant in the past. So we would have no reason not to expect to see the same thing.
I mean, he's only been hurt 3 times the last 5 years.
Only 3 times.
It's a recurring thing out of him. But in terms of this particular injury, he's looking good and he's ready to get the ball rolling.
How do you think his relationship is going to be with new head coach Brian Schottenheimer?
So he's been with Schotty since 2023, and that year he threw 37 touchdowns, and he was second in MVP voting under Schottenheimer. So that's a guy that he's very familiar with, and they're going to throw a ton. And Schottenheimer knows who he has at quarterback, and he knows the running back room as well. But they have chemistry. This isn't someone that's coming in and Dak has no idea who this guy is. They talk behind closed doors. They know the wide receiver room. They know what can get done, at any given task. So last year was tough, obviously. But I think there's just so many distractions coming out of the camp. First of all, with Dak's contract, CeeDee Lamb's contract, and then they lost so many people on defense. They lost, Quinn. He went to Washington. So I wouldn't put a lot of the blame on Schottenheimer last year. At the same time, I was very surprised that he ended up being head coach. I feel like there could have been other guys that would have been placed at head coach over Schottenheimer. That came as a surprise to a lot of people. But it might be a little tough. It's a tough division. They have a tough schedule. But in terms of the offense, I think they're going to get the job done this year.
The Cowboys have a lot in front of them with a very stacked NFC East division. What do you think their chances are against the likes of Jaden Daniels and Saquon Barkley?
I mean, they saw it last year. They just got demolished by Washington. There was games that they were unable to. You didn't see them on the field. They were 7-10 for a reason. They were just losing to division rival Eagles, et cetera. The only team that they had their way with was the Giants, but I don't think that's a big accomplishment in my opinion. But you know what? I don't think they can. It's just too tough against the Eagles. The Washington Commanders, both teams are only in the NFC Championship game. So it's going to be tough. I mean, it's the fifth toughest schedule for them this upcoming season. So they have to win, the easy games. If they don't even do that, lights out. So I think they can get to 8-9 wins, but 10 wins, I think it's a little bit of an ask for this team. First-year coach. It's going to be very challenging. And you know what? For Jerry Jones, this is a thing that he's going to have to come to terms with. This is a team that just cannot find a way to go far in the playoffs. But you know what? They didn't make it last year, and I could see them not making it again. This is a franchise that has just fallen short.
Jerry Jones had another outspoken summer for the Cowboys. Ultimately, how are we thinking he's right for them? Do we think he's making the right decisions for the organization?
So it's whatever he thinks. He thinks he's doing the right job, but to the whole world and people that are looking at other organizations and how they run things, this is a complete utter circus, in my opinion.
It seems like he does deals so differently from other organizations in the sense of a handshake agreement, as opposed to maybe he hasn't even talked to the player yet. How do you navigate something like that going into a difficult situation? With Jerry Jones' questionable way of doing business, leaving it till the last minute, what kind of a message do you think that sends to the younger guys on this team?
Well, first and foremost, these guys know it's a business at the end of the day, but at the same time, it's just drama. It's just drama that's not needed. Actually, it's better. I mean, it's not better that they're in this situation, but they're seeing this unravel as a rookie, and they're like, you know what? Like, I'm going to expect this, in my fifth years in the NFL, so they just have to expect it. Things like that, it's expected in terms of like business, dealings. But with Jerry Jones, I think it's another animal, and it's not a great message. It really isn't, but at the end of the day, a business is a business, and he loves it. He loves talking to the reporters and just saying what's on his mind. I mean, he's been doing this for a while, long-time owner since 1989, but it's not needed, and there's a reason why they haven't won a Super Bowl in almost 30 years. They don't make it far in the playoffs, and then you get a season like that last year where all things just unraveled, and you're still seeing it leak over to this upcoming year with a new head coach. And with this thing with Michael Parsons, just talking to ESPN with Stephen A. Smith, basically telling him, the agent told me to kiss my ass. Apparently, Ryan Clark got a call, like he spoke to the agent and said that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
So it's a total circus.
It's a total circus, and I get it's negotiations.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Ain't That Our Ball. Catch a new one every Thursday and a new X's and O's tactics show every Monday. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed and comment down below.